I decided to spend a day there and see what it was all about. At the door, a visitor is met by volunteer worker Frank Cross Jr., who tells you to sign in and where to go. The first stop was Hangar 1, where different eras of aviation are represented from early fighter planes to World War II bombers, all the way up to Operation Desert Storm. Oh yeah, did I mention the artwork on the planes? It wasn't bad either. Then it was on to the south end of the museum, which turned out to be even more interesting. It includes the P-51 Mustang, considered to be the best fighter plane during World War II. Along with it are early World War I planes, gliders, and the modern-day U.S. fighter jets, which some consider to be unbeatable by any foreign aircraft. What we're looking at here is the tail end of an F-15 Eagle. Now, if we were really on a runway, this is not somewhere we would want to be. So let's move along to the Museum of Aviation History. Jim Belletto, director of artwork at the museum and the one who is most responsible for the look of the museum, explains that much of aviation's history comes from Georgia.
Georgia history, people would be amazed how early aviation started off in Georgia, and that it was also probably responsible for pioneering aviation. Delta originated out of Georgia, Southern Airways, Epps Aviation, the early aircraft that you see here, and where you're standing in this whole room is all based on Georgia aviation in the early years when it first started out at the turn of the century, starting with the Epps brothers and working their way up. General Robert L. Scott, George Gay lives in Atlanta, who's a sole survivor of Midway. There's a lot of aviation history in Georgia, just people just don't realize.
Lance Jones, director of education of volunteers at the museum, also noted that the museum had some unique exhibits.
Well, we have several attractions. The Museum of Aviation is the home of the Hump Pilot Association, and we have the largest exhibit dedicated to hump pilot operations in the United States.
Okay, where is the hump?
We're in the hump pilot here, and that's dedicated to the men, women, and people of all nationalities that flew the logistics supply train over the hump, which was the Himalaya Mountains, from India to China, Burma, and other places in Asia. We also have the SR-71, which is a big attraction, the world's fastest airplane.
Okay. A few visitors said what they liked about the museum.
This aircraft over here, the Hilo, I used that during special operations over in the Gulf War.
I think over in the Hangar 1 building, I think I liked the trainer. They had a series of trainer aircraft lined up that were very interesting.
Even some kids from Northside Elementary had a personal museum favorite.
Sitting in the stimulator, and it was like you were pretending to drive a airplane. That was probably my favorite part.
Oh, really? And if you go back, what are you going to tell your friends about the museum?
That it would be a real cool place to go if you're really into airplanes and if you're thinking about being in the Navy or in the Army.
What about the Air Force?
Air Force.
Well, I like the fields where all the airplanes are. You can see the different ones.
Yeah.
When we got to go in an airplane.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That was pretty cool, wasn't it? Really? Did you feel like you were really flying it there?
Well, what do you think of the museum?
Well, I liked it personally, but where do they get the money for the museum?
The Museum of Aviation is a privately funded museum. All our money that we acquire is through private donations. Various institutions have gone in and donated large sums of money, such as Lockheed and some of the various aviation corporations, as well as local banks and things of that nature, as well as we had 10,000 students in the Houston County school system that donated their lunch money and raised over $10,000 to build the museum.
The day was about over, but not without a stop into the aviation shop, where you can choose from a large selection of t-shirts, towels, posters, books, and of course, models. As I began to leave, my buddy Frank, who had greeted me at the door, was busy with another couple. So I turned to old Glory and thanked her for the memories, knowing that I'd be back to relive them one day soon. Steve Norris, Central Georgia Tonight.